So welcome everyone to Digital Vino, which it is today. So I have kind of unified Digital Vino and Wines with the live stream, but today we're digital because we're talking about the digital thing, which is Telesomm App, which is an app created by the guest here today, Vanessa Raymond, who actually reached out to me some time ago. So I'm on her app. So if she's going to tell you more about that I'm one of the people you can find on that app. So welcome, Vanessa, and to Digital Vino Day. So do you want to present yourself a bit and tell us who you are?
Sure. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Katarina. So my name is Vanessa. I founded the Telesomm app back in March, April, and it really came out of the pandemic, just thinking about wine professionals, wine professionals and how they can, still work in their job, but be safe. And I was also thinking about people who are stuck at home, quarantining. Katarina was just telling me before we got on that, they're on their second lockdown in Italy. How do we still make connections? How do we still talk to people? And how do we discover new wines? So that's why I started Telesomm. In my day job, I work in the tech industry. So I help software developers build software. I'm a project manager. So this is my first time, launching my own thing that I have built. And it's been an awesome journey so far. So that's a little bit about me.
So how did you, you said that this was the idea to the Telesomm app. So how did it go from idea to more developed products? How did you, if you want to talk a bit more about the process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I feel like it's still developing as a product. Every day I make changes, but so I built sort of a prototype of the app, just like something to test it out, and I started talking to people. And actually, one of the first people I found was Katarina, and I was so drawn to her because, like, I love that this is called Digital Vino because you were using tech to talk about wine, but you're also very regional and like local focused, and you're helping small wineries and small producers break out into new markets, or maybe they're not that small, but breaking into new markets. And I just was so captivated by you and how you are interested in communication and connecting using technology. So that's what I was trying to do. So it was great to meet you, and then I met other people along the way. And usually it's just having a conversation, like jumping on a call, talking to someone, showing them the app, saying like, what do you think? What would you need? What's missing? And through that, I've been able to, make 1,000 changes, thousands of changes. And we opened up the app to the public about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So we're still in the beginning, but it's the exciting part of this process.
Yeah, I agree. It was very fun to when you reached out. Also because being stuck at home as we've been this year, it's like we get also stuck to all these digital apps and tools that we can use to connect with people. So I think it's a really good idea. So what was your criteria when you were looking for wine professionals to have on your app?
It's kind of like a vibe. Like if I feel comfortable talking to them, I imagine that someone else, a wine lover at home, would feel comfortable talking to them. And I feel that way with you and with each of the other Telesomms. We have 6 now, or 6. and then, obviously being like professionals, like knowing a lot about wine. I don't consider myself a wine expert at all, but I like wine and I'm curious, and I want people who can lead me and help me learn and discover new things without making me feel bad or dumb, just making it an exciting process. And I see you do that every day on your Instagram and on your live stream. And each of the other Telesomms are the same way. They want to share what they know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen that they're really good, the other ones. I feel a bit, but I always feel like this kind of how do you say, imposter syndrome. So
I find I'm talking about imposter syndrome all the time, and I fight it with myself. So I guess that's another part of this, is like making people feel good about what they know. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I think also like in general, I mean, to feel good, but also to feel like it's not something snobby. It doesn't have to be very snobby about wine, and you don't have to drink all this super expensive wines all the time. There's a lot of great wine that can be very kind of accessible and inexpensive. So what are your, I mean, you just launched it, so it's kind of to check out among friends so far because it's not downloadable in on the general channels. How do you see it, how is it moving forward? How has the first 2 weeks, I think, 1 or 2 weeks been?
It's been incredible. I mean, because I manage all the tech, I get to see when people log in and go to the website and what they see, and then answer questions that people are like, well, how do I do this? And what about this? And who's doing this? So it's been an incredible time for me to figure out how to tell the consumer what we have, because we have a lot, I mean, we have over 30 classes and tastings. And then with consultations, like if someone can call you up and have you help them buy wines, here in America that are interesting. If you say a wine in Italy is interesting, I'm going to buy it, so there's this whole world that opens up just through these connections. So I am trying to figure out how to tell people the breadth of what we have. And so that's been the biggest challenge of the last few weeks. And just also refining our process. Like, okay, I go to the app, I find what I want. I got to schedule it. I have to pay for it. I have to get the wine. So that sort of stuff, the logistics is another thing we're working on now.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, of course, I do the Italian part, but I guess it's easier for those who also do the more American-based wineries because it's easier to access and to get hold of. But for sure, I mean, but do you have anyone who does the French side or?
I'm talking to someone who's in France like you and does French wine. And I was talking to someone who's does Portuguese and Spanish wine. I would love to have people in Australia, New Zealand, South America, just so we have expertise like you, but in the other regions. That would be incredible.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it now because actually I think there are a couple who are good choices.
Yeah, if you know anyone.
I didn't think about it. So how do you see it moving forward? I mean, it's difficult to say now because, I mean, it's just in the beginning, but you said a bit about the ideas that how you want to move forward and how you want to extend it, but what are the other ideas that are coming to mind?
Yeah, so, we just said having the Telesomms, the wine professionals in different regions around the world is one thing that I want to work on. Making it a place where people, they know Telesomme, they trust us, because really I'm handpicking who's on the app. It's not just every wine professional. It's really this certain type of professional who cares about connection and reaching out to people. And so getting people to know about the app and trust it, and then go on wine journeys. I mean, you worked with Lee and Ari. So these people who are helping us test, they're now, I mean, regularly doing tastings, and all their wines are coming out through working with Telesomm. So I feel like more customers like that who work with different Telesomms and explore what they want and develop their taste and really just have the world of wine expand to them. That's the goal. I'm also not ready to do this at all, but I want to add in beer and coffee. So we have a coffee sommelier and a beer sommelier and a wine sommelier. And all of that is it's about the senses. It's about the journey. It's about the personal palate. So I would love to see that expand. I don't know, other liqueurs, I don't know. We want to go there as well.
I actually heard about a friend of mine who is a sommelier at restaurants here. And he was actually saying that he's also a tea sommelier. I didn't know that it existed, but I found it very cool.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, are there tea sommeliers? That sounds hard though. There's just so much tea.
Yeah, and I mean, but he says he actually has he has studied it. So, but that was new to me. I didn't know that it existed. I mean, I could have I thought that it existed, but I wasn't aware of it. So that was pretty cool. But I guess coffee and then, well, chocolate could also be something, as you said, and
There's a lot of places you could go with it.
well, whiskey is also very popular.
Yeah. I like everything. So I'm like, oh, whiskey, let's do that. Rum is becoming a thing. Mezcal is very big here in the United States.
Yeah. Well, mixology, it could also be something like cocktail.
A lot of people have already asked for that. I'm not a cocktail drinker myself. I don't like sweet drinks at all. If it's sweet, I don't want it. So most cocktails are sweet, so I usually avoid them. Just drink it
I
straight.
was into cocktails before, but I'm not so much. I don't drink it that much now. But I know that a lot of people are into it. It's become like very trendy for the moment. So
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to learn more about you and how you got to where you are. And this is you're in your 5th year or you're in your 6th year of live streaming?
I don't know. I think still the 5th, because I started in 2015 when all these live streaming apps came out. So I think it started with Meerkat and Periscope in the early 2015.
Yep.
And then it developed, and then I think it was in November 2015 that I started this, that would become the Wines of Italy live stream, because it was first on this first live stream platform that they created, I think in mid 2015, and then that one kind of disappeared after a while. It was called, what was it called? Blab.im, which was a cool app because it was connected to Twitter mainly, and there was a lot of people online. It was a bit like the pandemic, but without a pandemic. So a lot of people in the US were totally obsessed with live streaming in that year. So this platform, I mean, you could kind of create your event, and you could be kind of on the screen, and then people could jump in and jump out of the room, the chat room. So sometimes you would have like for 100 people or so that you could see were online, but then they would go out. So sometimes you were like 10, and then sometimes we were 50. But it was a good way to get started because there was a lot of people there, and some of those people are still like people I know or follow, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people from the tech world, so it wasn't. I think I was the first probably doing wine stuff, and then some others started. But then it kind of, I think after a couple of months, no, early 2016, it didn't exist anymore. So then some other channels came on.
Yeah, there's a lot of turnover in tech. Well, now they have this thing called Clubhouse. Have you been on Clubhouse?
No, I haven't been on Clubhouse, no.
I got an invite recently and I've been going on, but I'm 1, super shy, so I don't want to talk. And 2, I'm just like, where do I go? What do I do? So you can go in these rooms, but it's only audio, no video. So it sounds like what you're talking about, but just not the video component. And you can chat with people. And I'm like, hear about all these incredible things happening on Clubhouse, but I don't know how to get into them.
I still have to test it out.
Yeah. I was thinking we could do a Telesomm event on Clubhouse maybe one day.
No, that would be cool. But in that year there, I was kind of totally obsessed with checking everything out, all these tools. Now I don't have time to check everything out. So, but I was dedicating all my time when I didn't work to kind of understand how everything worked with social media, with all these new tools, and I was following all these main US marketers and tech people. And it was good because you kind of also got into the loop of these people. So even if you don't know them that well, and they might not, know you, but you're still in these groups after all these years who kind of are in their people zone. So if they, if they post, you always see what's happening and stuff. So that's good.
Yeah.
But
You and I have.
I started with wine before, so I mean, I started already. I mean, I was always interested in wine, but I started as a sommelier. I think we finished the course in 2012, the sommelier course, if I'm correct. I'm not sure. And then I kind of wrote for fun on this free WordPress free blog. And actually, I didn't think that anybody was reading me, but it turned out that people were actually reading. So they kind of contacted me. Mostly people from the US, and that's how it got started. So people often think that I'm kind of American or UK, because Sweden is a different market. It's a different, I mean, Swedes are everywhere. They travel a lot, but still when they're in Sweden, they're very closed in their own market, their own, like inside Sweden. So, I mean, a lot of people might know about of course, still about Swedish wine professionals or influencers, but still what they do is very kind of a bit closed. So, like we might know about them, or they might know about the bigger names, but they're not kind of interacting that much, in my opinion.
Interesting. Is it because there's a different sort of Swedish palette, or is it about trust?
I don't know if it's about trust, or if it's about language, or if it's about, because I don't think language, because they do write English, but then they do many write Swedish, I think, in their, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure why it's like that.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Very.
So I am Samoan American. I'm mixed race. My mom is from the country of Samoa, not American Samoa, which is part of the U.S. And so it's like, you're a Swedish sommelier. I'm a Samoan American doing a wine app, and we're very niche demographic. There aren't that many of us. I didn't even think about that until just now.
No, so it's like I have, since I do everything in English, I mean, because I started up because I wanted as much as people as possible to read me. So of course, if I do in Italian, I limit myself to Italy, and if I do in Swedish, I would limit myself to Sweden. And it's also harder to do in Swedish only when being here. It wouldn't make sense. So I did everything in English, but the thing is that there's very few people, I think, in Sweden who knows who I am or what I do. I've discovered, and I didn't think it was like that, because I mean, if you do in English, it would be. That's why I think that a lot of people in Sweden are very limited to the Swedish people. They read Swedish, but they don't look very much beyond. If you're not one of the more key wine professionals who knows a lot of the market. But I think it's very curious, and it's also difficult for me from here to reach a Swedish fan base, because I'm not there, and I would need to do more in Swedish, but then it's also kind of time consuming. So to do in all languages, because I already do a lot of Italian and English. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured out how to do. I would have to do keywords also in Swedish to kind of be seen more, and I don't know. I have to figure that out. I don't
know. So at what point did you decide to relocate and live in Italy? I know you were in France, I think, as well before.
No, I wasn't in France.
Oh, not in France. Okay, I don't know where I got that from.
No, I've been. I did my PhD, so I did a PhD in history, and they have a research institute of the European Union, which is actually based in here in Italy, in Tuscany. So each European country every year can send a specific number of researchers that each single country decide who they want to send. So I was sent by Sweden because when I applied, basically nobody went there from Sweden, because nobody knew about it. So I knew because my sister-in-law, who is German, did her PhD there, and she told me to apply, and my brother told me to apply. And I've been kind of living in Florence for a couple of years before, as an exchange student, and so they just accepted me, and then it became that I did my PhD here in Florence. And then I just stayed on. I mean, I went a lot of back and forth, and the first years I was much more in Sweden. Now I go like 2-3 times a year, but then I stayed much longer in Sweden. So, but yeah, it was hard to go back to Sweden after kind of 6 years here, and then I went back and forth, and I stayed more here, and then I realized I had more friends here, and it's just turned out to become an Italian life rather than.
That's sort of like my experience. I live in Alaska right now, and I came here for graduate school. So I didn't plan on staying at all. I said I'll do my 2-year degree and get my master's, and then go back to Massachusetts, which is maybe the same distance, Italy to Sweden and Massachusetts to Alaska. I need to check actually.
Probably. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I would go back all the time and blah, blah, blah. And then I realized all my friends are here. Like my life is here in Alaska. I never would have planned that or guessed it, but it is. And so here I am.
Yeah, it's funny because if you go to the far north of Sweden, it's like further away than going from because I live in the southernmost part of Sweden. So it's like towards the sea, towards Germany or Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
If I go here, it's almost closer than going to the far north of Sweden. But still, some people, like some relatives and stuff, think that it would still be better if I lived like in the far north, because still I would be in Sweden, even if it would be kind of more expensive and further away to go to visit me in Sweden, but it would still be Sweden, but I guess that's kind of, also nationalist way of thinking, that it's better to be within the same country, even if it's further away.
That's actually how I decided to go to school in Alaska, because I studied Arctic politics. It's funny because Sweden's also an Arctic nation. And I was like, well, I could go to Finland or I could go to Sweden to study Arctic politics. Those are things you could study there, or I could go to Alaska. And I said, even though it's the same distance, I should stay in the same country, because I had just moved back from Bulgaria, which is where kind of my wine journey started. Bulgaria has all these like local homegrown wine. I imagine that's quite common in European countries, but certainly not in the United States, where I'm from, at least on the East Coast. And so, yeah, that's where I kind of fell in love with this idea of wine, not as a snobby thing, as an everyday thing that you craft over, generations. That's a part of where you are. So, yeah. So anyways, tangent. So I chose Alaska because it was in the United States, even though, like you said, it's the same distance.
No, but I mean, that's natural to do that. It's just funny to me now when I live here, and it is like 2 hours away from Sweden, even if it takes a bit longer to travel, because you still have to do airports and stuff. But in pure travel, it's like 2 hours, so it's not that much. I mean,
I wish I could say that.
Still, it's another country, so I can understand that it's. But to me now, it feels like it's Europe, so it doesn't really make a big difference. But I think it depends on perspective also. It's like when I studied history, it was like center and periphery. So of course, it's also a mental center, I think, in periphery. So it's
definitely
that. No, but for sure. So I mean, I guess that history is also why I like wine, because there is so much history in it. So I guess it's a compromise between, instead of being a historian, which I was a bit bored about after a while, after doing the PhD, I couldn't really. It was a bit boring to me, so I didn't really want to sit in an archive for the rest of my life. But
with like white gloves on.
Yeah, but a lot of, I mean, still, even if you're a freelancer, you spend a lot of time alone, but if you're a historian, you spend even more time alone. So I just felt like I didn't really want to do that. And I think like doing wine and the history of wine is better because you can travel the field all the time, so you meet a lot of people. So it's kind of a good compromise.
Yeah, your Instagram is so exciting to me because you're always going somewhere new and meeting new people, and I'm like, wow, look at all this stuff she's doing. Yeah. Of course, it looks very beautiful too, because I'm sitting in like 6 feet of snow right now. How does Telesomm fit into your work and your, wine career? And maybe that's part of it, is you're talking directly to the consumers and hearing what they like. Because a lot of times I imagine you're writing for a winery or a distributor, this is what this wine is about, this is what's great about this wine, but you don't talk maybe to the consumers as much.
No, I mean, I've done a lot of, I mean, by having quite a lot of people that I talked to also through the live stream, where people has commented on the live streams. I mean, I've tried to kind of look into what people like, but of course I can't know what all the types of consumers like. But I try to study it. So I mean, also to kind of see what they're interested in. And I tend to think that the taste has changed. I don't think that Americans are that hooked up on these kind of wines that were very popular in the 90s. I think there's an interest for many other different types of wines. And I also see that, I mean, I don't have this huge following that other people might have, but I still think it's a consistent amount of people who see the streams. And so yeah, I think for Telesomm App, I think it can be really good to learn more about what consumers like, and also kind of what they would see more of or see less of. I must say that LinkedIn has turned out to be a very good channel also for learning about that.
LinkedIn?
Before, because I mean, I never really dedicated that much to LinkedIn before because I found it very kind of too rigid. But I think then a couple of years ago, I realized that there were a lot of people on LinkedIn, so I just tested it to use it more, and it's become more and more. And I must say that there's a lot of people there telling you more directly what they think and what they like, and
Instagram. Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting. Like, so LinkedIn has become a really important app to use.
That's actually how I did my original research about Telesomm, is through LinkedIn. I didn't really put that together though. But I got these incredible interviews with people who are like leaders in wine tech, who have built apps, like big name apps or websites for wine, mainly in the US. And I always was wondering, like, why are they taking my call? I'm a nobody from Alaska. Maybe LinkedIn is more real. Maybe it's more direct and more real in a way that Instagram is not,
I mean, Twitter used to be, I mean, I think Twitter is still, because with Twitter you can find like any person, and as long as you're not sales, you're trying to get something from that person, they will always answer, in my opinion. That's my experience. I mean, some of the best people I've kind of connected with and who taught me a lot has been through Twitter. But I think also LinkedIn has become a bit like that you can actually, reach out to a person and they will actually consider you, or also kind of, get on a call with you.
I want to have consistent connections through Telesomm, not a volume of connections through Telesomm.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm handpicking who's on there. I don't want too many Telesomms, the wine professionals. Right now we have 6, and maybe we'll go to 12 over time. But from now on, I'm very carefully selecting, because we have so much experience and so much knowledge on the app already. And yeah, it's a tricky thing though, because it's like, I want to be a real influencer as opposed to like a capital I influencer. Like, I want our app to help people discover new wines that they love, not what they're told to love or that they feel like they have to prove that they have money to love, but like they actually like this thing and they learned about it from Katarina, or they learned about it from Kelly or Nicole. That's what I want to make happen. I started my career in the music industry many years ago, and what they said there for breaking into the music industry is you need 1,000 real fans, who will buy everything you put out, who will go to every event you throw, and that's all you really need. You don't need 1 million. And so like what you're saying is exactly that model. If I had 1,000 people who bought every tasting that came on Telesomme, would be good. Would be very good, actually. That would be probably too much.
Yeah, but I think they say the same also in marketing. I mean, and I see like, because a lot of wineries, they also say like, well, you can't, or people here say, well, you can't, sell online. Why don't I sell anything online? And also some other kind of people who has an e-commerce. But then I see like it takes a while because you have to create that trust. So, I mean, I see that there's one winery I help. I mean, they've been very good at also creating before their amount of followers, who also people who have visited the winery also in the past. And then also kind of we worked with creating a Facebook group, a closed Facebook group and stuff. And I mean, when they put something out, people buy. Because they have been there, or because they have joined the kind of their community, and they like what they see. They like, to follow what is happening in the family every week and stuff, because they also post like what they do, and so I think it works. I mean, you just have to. It takes a bit of time. It takes like a couple of years to get there because you have to be consistent. But for sure, I mean, also I think with this app is going to be quicker, of course, because when people start buying, they're also going to kind of recommend it to others. So
that's the thought, is that if you have one incredible experience, tasting with you, you're going to tell people, because we don't have anything going on right now. And then your friends are going to do it, and then you may try someone else. And so the trust is kind of built in to each experience. Like, what's the future of Telesomme? And something I would love is to build the connection between the small producers and the consumer. I would absolutely love it if now a winery could use Telesomme as that medium to help people discover like incredible wines that you would never find out about if you just went to your supermarket or a wine shop down the street. So that is another huge goal for me. And I think the first time a winery reaches out to me and says, hey, what's this Telesomme thing? Can we use it for our work? That's going to be a big moment for that. I'm going to dance. I'm going to do a dance on my side of the screen.
No, I already have some Italian wineries that I think would benefit from it, but I don't know how it would work practically, because it's a bit. I think it's easier with American wineries in the beginning. So.
Oh yeah. I think a distributor has to be.
So I don't know. Is there anything you want to add about the app that you think is important to know for the people?
Well, you can follow us on Instagram, because we're doing a lot on Instagram. It's telesomm.app. So TELESOMM.app. And then you can also find us online and check out our website or the app itself through, just type into the search bar telesomm.app. That's our URL. And check out Katarina's tastings. She has 4 wine regions that she's doing tastings in. It's Campania, Puglia, Calabria, and Tuscany. And she also does a one-on-one consultation, which I think would be incredibly valuable. So check that out. And I don't know what else to say. I'm looking forward to the future as well. And I want to thank you, Katarina, for being like a brave, first person who said, yeah, let's do this. Let's figure this out. I consider it a big experiment, and I love that you're willing to experiment with me.
Yeah. I'm always curious about new things. So thank you, Vanessa, and I hope to see you soon in any other connection through the app. And please free to join us next Wednesday, as I said, probably with the Umbria winery. and have a nice evening. Ciao.
Ciao.